Hey friend, please subscribe and like the video. 1 second for you. A big deal for me. My name is Evan, I'm 34, and until last year, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. Great job in finance, a woman I loved, a future I thought was stable. But it only took one false accusation to turn my life into a courtroom chess game. And I won, by doing absolutely nothing. Her name was Tessa. We'd been together for nearly 4 years. She was charming, outgoing, the kind of woman who could make any room feel lighter just by walking in. I met her at a charity gala my company sponsored. She worked in marketing for one of our vendors. Sharp, funny, and utterly magnetic. We started dating fast. By year 2, she'd practically moved into my place. It wasn't perfect, but I thought we were building something real. We talked about buying a house, maybe a dog. She wasn't great with money, that was obvious, but I figured we'd work through it together. She had $25,000 in student loans, some credit card debt, and a bit of a shopping habit. Nothing alarming until it became everything. It started small. Hey babe, can you cover my card this month? My paycheck's late. Then it became, I'll pay you back after my bonus. The bonus never came. By year 3, I was covering her rent, her car insurance, and even her therapy bills. I didn't mind at first when I was making good money. But then the spending escalated. Designer bags, spa retreats. Work trips that somehow always included beach photos. When I finally brought it up, I didn't yell. I just said, Tess, maybe we should make a budget. You're spending more than you earn. She froze. Then she smiled that sarcastic little smile she used when she felt cornered. Oh, so now you're my accountant too? That night, she slammed the bedroom door and slept on the couch. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. But I could feel something shift. Like a quiet switch had flipped. 2 weeks later, I got called into HR. I thought it was about a client issue. Instead, my manager and an HR rep sat across from me with straight faces and said, Evan, we received a report from an external contractor alleging inappropriate behavior. My stomach dropped. What kind of behavior? They looked uncomfortable. Romantic coercion, power imbalance, financial manipulation. Tessa had filed a formal complaint to my company, claiming I'd used our professional relationship to pressure her into a personal one. She said she'd been emotionally manipulated and that I'd used money to maintain control. In other words, the exact opposite of what actually happened. I didn't shout. I didn't panic. I asked one question. Do you have the dates? The HR rep slid a printed timeline across the table. According to Tessa's complaint, I'd coerced her at a vendor off-site dinner in April, pressured her to keep me happy, to secure her firm's contract renewal in May, and sent financial demands in June. I stared at the paper, then nodded slowly. Okay, I'll cooperate fully. I request that all communication be in writing. I'll provide materials by end of day. Back at my desk, I opened a folder I never thought I'd need. Receipts. I'm not meticulous by nature, but I keep calendars, email threads, and backups. The April dinner? I was in Chicago for my brother's bachelor party. My boarding passes and hotel invoice were time-stamped. The May renewal, I'd filed a conflict of interest disclosure the day Tessa's firm pitched, because I was dating an employee there. I also recused myself from the vote. 3 directors signed the recusal memo. The June financial demands? Those were Venmo transfers to her with notes like rent, therapy, car insurance. Somehow, are you okay to cover gas this week? Became financial manipulation. I compiled flight confirmations, recusal emails, calendar invites, Slack messages, bank statements. Then I wrote one sentence on top. I consent to a full review of my personal and work devices relevant to these dates. Please also request Ms. Rowan's vendor communications with our procurement team. I hit send. And then I made one more move. Nothing. No calls to Tessa. No rage texts. I let my lawyered silence do the heavy lifting. The next 48 hours were a fog. I still made my numbers, still answered emails, Still smiled at the receptionist who'd watched me get served like I was being evicted from my own life. At night, I sat in my kitchen and stared at the wall between sips of cold coffee that never finished. On day 3, procurement pinged me privately. Heads up, we're pulling Tessa's firm into a compliance audit. Something's off with their Q2 invoices. You didn't hear it from me. My hands finally stopped shaking. I hadn't swung. The system had. That weekend, I boxed up the pieces of my shared life with Tessa. I didn't throw anything away. I just removed it from my line of sight. The shoes near the door, the travel brushes in my bathroom, the spare key in the pen holder. I placed them in a banker's box and labeled it with a word that didn't feel like mine yet. Past. On Monday, HR reconvened. Same room, same gray carpet, different air. Evan, thank you for your materials. The rep's tone was calmer now. We have verified your travel for the April date, confirmed your formal recusal during the May vote, and reviewed the June transfers. We also obtained a recording. My heart stuttered. A recording?
From procurement. Vendor calls are archived. There's a clip from Tessa's team lead stating, quote, "Evan's hands are clean. He wouldn't even sit in the renewal meeting because he's dating her." They paused. I didn't fill the silence. HR's preliminary finding, no policy violation. We will close this matter pending the external vendor review. You are not under any discipline. I waited for relief to flood me. It didn't. Because it wasn't just my job she tried to take. It was the story of me. When the meeting ended, I stood to leave, then turned back. For documentation, I'm requesting that the complaint, the evidence, and the finding be placed in my file, and that legal be looped in for any future contact from Ms. Rowan. They nodded. Understood. I walked out with steady steps. I had won the first board. The game wasn't over. Tessa texted me that night from an unknown number. I didn't answer. She used a mutual friend. I didn't bite. Then she tried my mother. My mom is a nurse who has seen enough quiet catastrophes to recognize one from a mile away. "Evan, she called me crying," Mom said. "Said you abandoned her financially. What's going on?" I told my mother the truth. Not the rage version, the paperwork version. "She filed a false HR complaint, Mom. Work cleared me. Compliance is auditing her vendor. I'm done paying her rent. I'm not her bank." Mom exhaled, long and sad. "I raised you to be kind, not gullible. Let the adults do their jobs." The next day, Tessa filed for a temporary restraining order, not because I was dangerous, because I was inconvenient. The filing claimed I weaponized money, pressured her to cohabit, and threatened to destroy her career. Attached screenshots were cropped. No headers, no timestamps, only my side of budget, and "Can we pause the card?" pulled like teeth out of a longer smile. My attorney, Mara, read the packet and set it down like it smelled. She's bluffing. There's no incident, no date, no police contact. But the TRO hearing is in 10 days. We can either fight now or wait and let her escalate. "Wait," I said. The word tasted like steel. If she wants distance, I'll give her the galaxy. I closed every voluntary stream that touched her life, removed her from my phone plan, stopped the monthly transfers, disabled the extra card on my account. Noted to the landlord that the lease renewal, which I'd been guaranteeing, would not include me this time. Emailed her HR anonymously with the procurement recording link. No commentary, just facts. 2 days later, her attorney called Mara, voice pitched somewhere between stern and begging. "Can we resolve the financial items informally?" "Our client is in transition." Mara smiled without showing teeth. "Your client filed a restraining order claiming financial manipulation. He's complying with her request by ending financial ties. You want to violate your own theory?" Silence, then a sigh. "We'll withdraw the TRO." "No," Mara said. And I loved her then. We prefer the hearing. On the record, they blinked first. They withdrew. That same afternoon, procurement finished its audit. Turns out Tessa's firm had padded a campaign budget, double-billed some creative work, and billed for hours that didn't exist. They were dropped as an approved vendor. Internal notes cited ethics and documentation concerns. I didn't forward the memo. I didn't have to. People talk. That night I got a message from an unknown number. "You ruined me." I took a screenshot and archived it. She was still writing the story in blood. I was writing it in ink. The next blow didn't come from Tessa. It came from her mother. I was leaving my building when a woman in a camel coat intercepted me. "You must be Evan," she said, chin lifted like a blade. "I'm Renee Rowan." I raised Tessa to expect more than scraps. I stepped aside. "Ms. Rowan, I can't speak with you." "Can't speak? Because you're guilty?" "Because I'm done." Her eyes flashed. "You were never good enough." Just a calculator in a suit. She needed someone with vision. I could have told her about the Venmo notes, therapy, rent, groceries. I could have told her about the HR lies. Instead, I said, "Then you'll be happy to know she can fund that vision without me." 2 days later, my landlord sent me a courtesy email. A guarantor form had been submitted with my name and a signature that wasn't mine. They flagged it because the strokes didn't match and the date format was European, not the way I write it. Cameras confirmed Renee had dropped it off herself. My attorney forwarded the evidence to the DA's office. "No flair," she said. "Just facts." Renee was charged with attempted forgery, not handcuffs on the sidewalk dramatic. More like a summons, an arraignment, a public record with a last name in bold. Tessa went quiet after that. No texts, no third-party messages, no sobbing voicemails to my mother, just silence, the kind you get right before the tide changes direction. Then came the email I didn't expect, from Tessa's father. "Evan, we've never met. I divorced Renee 15 years ago for reasons I suspect you understand now. I'm sorry my daughter put you through this. You handled it with restraint. Please don't give her $1 more. It only feeds the behavior." I reread that last line 3 times. It landed like a benediction and a warning wrapped in one. Closure didn't arrive as a slammed gavel. It arrived as mundane paperwork. HR sent their final letter. No policy violation, matter closed. Procurement circulated their vendor termination memo. The DA set a plea for Renee, community service, and a quiet apology to the property manager. Tessa? She updated her LinkedIn to consultant. Posted a carousel about resilience. Mutual friends said she was staying with her mom, working part-time retail, and privately messaging a new guy about men who control with money. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired in a way that sleep doesn't cure. So I built a new routine with fewer edges. I took a bread class on Saturdays because turning flour into something warm felt like proof that transformation could be gentle. I called my brother more. I sent my mother pictures of burnt loaves, and she sent back heart emojis like trophies. One evening, I ran into Lauren, a mutual friend who'd gone dark during the storm. She looked embarrassed. "I believed her," she admitted. "She said you were cold and punitive. But when HR cleared you, and the vendor thing, I realized she was telling a story she needed to be true." "I get it," I said. "We all do that sometimes." "You're kind," Lauren said. "That's why she picked you." A week later, Tessa sent one final email through her lawyer. It was 3 sentences long. "I'm sorry. I was scared. I won't contact you again." My attorney asked if I wanted to require a formal retraction, a notarized apology, something heavy to hang on a light wrong. "No," I said. "I just want my life back." Here's what I learned when someone rewrites you as a villain. You don't have to shout your innocence. You can document it. You don't have to chase truth. You can set it down and let it stand. And you don't have to punish them. That's what consequences are for. Tessa wanted a war with speeches. I won with silence, receipts, and doors that stayed closed. If you're listening, and you're where I was, dizzy, furious, desperate to defend yourself to people who already picked their character list, try this instead. Put it in writing. Offer full access to your timestamps. Cut every voluntary tie they call abusive. And wait. Sometimes the fairest revenge isn't fire. It's paperwork that outlives the drama, and a peace so steady it makes noise feel small. I'm Evan. I didn't get my old life back. I got a quieter one, and I'm keeping it.